New fallout from reports that the Republican National Committee is trying to recruit conservative radio hosts like Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, and Glenn Beck to help unite the Republican Party behind Donald Trump. The story broke early Friday morning and mentioned a possible meeting in the works between RNC Chairman Reince Priebus and Beck, a man who has criticized the RNC on more than one occasion in this primary season. So is Beck ready to back Trump? Joining me now, Glenn Beck, radio talk show host and founder of The Blaze. Hi, Glenn.
How are you? How are you, Megan?
I take it that's a no, the laughter.
No, I was just going to say, you should guess what you think a meeting, if they could meet with me and convince me to be a shill for anybody. What do you think the odds of that are?
Yeah, I don't know what they could possibly say. You've made very clear that never means never when it comes to never Trump. So what could you possibly give them?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think this is, at this point, you know, there's nothing that anybody that can say that should convince anybody one way or another. This is a personal decision for everybody now. And I honestly don't know what the right thing to do is. I know what I have decided to do. I know what I can do. And the only way I can sleep at night. But that might be different for everybody. And I just think presenting the facts, and for instance, I'm doing a series on the radio show in the next 2 weeks. I had David Horowitz, who is a guy who is very pro-Trump now. Tomorrow I have Mary Madeline on, and she's anti. In fact, she left the Republican Party. Then Thursday, I hope to have somebody from the Trump camp. So far, they're not returning our calls, but I hope to have somebody there.
Do any of these people persuade you when you listen to Horowitz?
No,
you feeling anything?
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for the listeners, because I think the country is really, really struggling with this. There's a lot of really good people that are like, I don't want to vote for him, but I know what Clinton is going to give me. And I think this is a personal decision for everybody.
What do you make of the fact that now David French has said he will not be an independent candidate? He believes the path is there for someone, but he thinks it needs to be somebody with a whole lot of money and name recognition, sort of who could start in a running start.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought of this a lot myself, because a lot of people have called me and said, you know, you got to convince Ted Cruz to. And I'm not convincing anybody to do anything, but I think Marco Rubio could win. I think if Marco and Ted came in, but it would be left up to the House in the end, because it would be a split. And I don't know if I would feel good about that. I mean, there's no good answers here. None. What
do you make of Marco Rubio coming out and saying that not only will he get behind Trump, but he will speak at the convention on his behalf after all the things, you know, Rubio has said about Trump?
Megan, I don't know about you, but I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I lost my credibility through alcoholism and made some really bad choices and lied to people about things. And when you lose everything in your life, and you don't have your credibility, and your family won't even believe you on things anymore, you realize that's the only thing of value that you actually possess. And so I made a vow 20 years ago, say what you mean what you say, I just want my credibility back. I can't understand people who can come out and say the things that Marco Rubio did, or the things that I did, and then say, well, but for politics, I'm going to go with him. You either meant it or you didn't. And it's not like I have disagreements with his policies. It was more along the lines of he is deeply flawed and dangerous as a human being. That's different. That's not policies.
It's as if these politicians expect us to completely forget everything they said and just excuse the lie. Was it a lie when you said the bad things about Trump to help yourself in the political campaign? Or is it a lie now when you say he's great and you'll support him in the Oval Office?
I had a conversation last night with a talk radio giant, and we were talking about it, and he asked me, so what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to stay the course. That's who I am. But we were talking about everyone is being watched right now, and there's no way to win. If you say, okay, I'm for Trump now, and you're Rubio, you lose, because people will remember. If I stay in my position, I lose. If I move my position, I lose. There's nothing happening now because we've lost the point of reason, where we can actually sit down and talk to each other as human beings and say, okay, this is my point of view, this is what I have to do, but that doesn't mean I hate you.
These two personalities, you know, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, engender such strong feelings on both sides of the aisle. I mean, it's unlike anything I've seen in recent history. I mean, I haven't seen this with McCain and Obama or Romney and Obama.
No. Megan, I think the biggest disappointment that I've seen for a while was that Austin Peterson wasn't nominated as the nominee for the Libertarian side, because I think the Libertarians have a real opportunity to make a case if they begin to behave like a serious contender and not just try to make Phyllis.
Hi, Gary.
I'm not a fan of Gary, you know, but hey. To each his own. Okay,
so I want to ask you about a couple more things. First of all, your thoughts on Trump and the comments about this judge in Trump University, not backing down. In fact, anybody who comes after him on it, reporters included, ought to be, they're racists for talking about his comments.
It is the same kind of nonsense that we had been dealing with this current president, where he'll destroy you. You disagree with him, and he'll destroy you. He'll call you a racist, and on times it has nothing to do with race. Donald Trump frightens me with the way he treats the press, and some things he does with the press I like. I like the fact that he says, wait a minute, that's not right. But his press conference last week was a little disturbing, and now to turn on people, there's no way that you can take that comment any other way than racist. He is saying this guy who was born in Indiana cannot give me a fair shake because of his genetic makeup, that his parents were from Mexico. I mean, that's insane. There's no other way to look at that.
You, Glenn, made some news 2 weeks ago. You had Brad Thor on the show, and you know he's a frequent guest here as well and beloved. Yeah. And he made a comment that caused all sorts of reaction. Let's just play it, and then I'll get your reaction to what happened after.
It is a hypothetical I am going to ask as a thriller writer. With the feckless, spineless Congress we have, who will stand in the way of Donald Trump overstepping his constitutional authority as president? If Congress won't remove him from office, what patriot will step up and do that if he oversteps his mandate as president, his constitutional granted authority, I should say, as president? If he oversteps that, how do we get him out of office? And I don't think there is a legal means available. I think it will be a terrible, terrible position the American people will be in to get Trump out of office, because you won't be able to do it through Congress.
Well, I would agree with you on that, and I don't think that you actually have the voices. We've been talking about this off air for a while. I think the voices like ours go away.
Then in the wake of that, Glenn, you went on vacation, and SiriusXM suspended the show for a week, right? And what you say that this is all a misunderstanding. Brad Thor was not.
It is absolutely.
When saying what patriot will step up if Trump oversteps his mandate as president, it wasn't a death threat, which is how many people took it.
Well, the Secret Service didn't take it that way. No, no law enforcement agency took it that way. There were no phone calls. There was really no outrage. It was internal politics that really brought this to the forefront. Let me just say this. Megan, you know me for a long time. Have you ever heard any conservative that has talked more about Gandhi and Martin Luther King and peace and love and no violence as the answer? Have you heard anyone say more about that than me in the last 6 years?
Even your response to Brad did not express what do you know, there wasn't an...
No, because I honestly, what was in my mind was, who is going to be that Jimmy Stewart who will stand alone? Because without Congress, they're not going to do it. So who's going to stand there and rally the people? And my comment back was, because you won't have voices like mine, or quite honestly, possibly voices like yours. Although you were running your fingers through Donald Trump's hair, so... Well,
that was back in 2011. That was a long time ago, Glenn. A lot has changed.
Right. But you're not... The American people, and really, we are so close, it could be anyone. Let's take Donald Trump out of this, and let's make it Barack Obama. if Barack Obama, many conservatives had this very conversation. Glenn, and I always thought it was crazy, Glenn, what if he suspended the next election and stayed in? I know.
The question is who will hold him accountable. But just for the record,
who holds him accountable?
You've talked to Brad as well. Neither one of you was suggesting that there should be an assassination or an attempt on Donald Trump's life, because people don't want to hear that. Even people who hate Trump don't want to hear that, and I know you don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear that, and that's why for 6 years I've been saying violence is coming on the streets. The violence will be there because anger is going to be. I actually expected on the left, and I've been saying to people for the longest time, Martin Luther King was right. No violence. To expect that I had somebody on my show that I wouldn't call on the carpet or that I would agree with a theory like that is absolutely nuts.
In my own experience, you have a history of standing up for the weak and condemning that kind of thing. So there you go. I'll leave it on that happy note. Glenn, it's always a pleasure.
It's mine. Thank you, Megan.
Great to see you.